Thanks for staying with us. Government is investigating 70 filling stations around the country who are allegedly selling fake diesel. Now, the Mineral Resources and Energy Department says it's uncovered that these stations are mixing the diesel with illuminating paraffin. Now, for more on this, I'm joined by Tseliso Maqubela, who is the Deputy Director General at the Mineral Resources Department. A very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time and welcome to Newzroom Afrika. I mean, these latest revelations are a clear sign that profiteers are cutting corners as petroleum prices continue to skyrocket. What have you uncovered?
No, thank you very much for inviting us, and good afternoon to yourself and viewers of Newzroom Afrika. So we took samples, 1,070 samples from a number of service stations across the country. And we found that 70 of them basically had failed compliance with the specifications. And how do they fail? We found an A1 marker. So in paraffin, we add a marker that's standard throughout the country so that we can then be able to see if people are actually mixing diesel and paraffin. So for those 70 service stations, we actually found that they were mixing, the paraffin with the diesel.
And in which areas did you find this to be quite a common thing?
So it's spread across the country really, but more prevalent in your northwest, your Mpumalanga, Limpopo. Lately, it's also prevalent in Gauteng as well as KZN. In other provinces, it's to a much lower extent. Yeah.
So, are you saying that these are well-known filling stations that have been doing this across the country?
No, effectively. Let me just make it clear that none of your, branded, service stations have tested positive. So that's good news. So the majority of in fact, all the oil companies, their service stations were within specification. So it's newer, brands that are really giving us this challenge. And some of them, actually, we find that they are not even licensed. So you find that they have violated two conditions. One is operating without a license, and the second one then, selling diesel illegally, which is off specifications as well. So
is this a platform with this information for you now to name and shame, or is there any reason why you're speaking about the specific well-known new kids on the block, essentially, without just naming and shaming?
So that is a process. You would appreciate that one of the things that we need to guard against, this violation actually is a tax offense. And usually when there is a tax offender, their violations are never discussed in public until they have been taken to a court of law. So we really want these offenders to face the full might of the law, and we don't want to prematurely prejudice any case that will be brought by the Revenue Service against them.
So in the interim, as that takes place, are you saying that these operators will continue to sell this product, which could have dire consequences for people's vehicles up until the stage of court?
So the process, what we do is that when we find them, we inform the Revenue Service, and in terms of their own legislation, they are able to go and seal off those service stations because they need to protect the evidence. In terms of our legislation, we are required to inform the offender that they have violated the law, and we must then ask them why we should not close them. In fact, we should not cancel the license. So the only way we have is to cancel the license, but they must make representations to us within a period of 21 days. Now we're looking at other, forms of enforcing the law. For example, if we could, go to lay a charge with the SAPS so that they can then be prosecuted criminally. But we think the one that is going to bite them the most is the one where the revenue service goes for them, because they then will have to account for all the volumes that they have sold where they have gotten away without paying tax.
It appears, though, as that you've known about this for quite some time. I mean, during a parliamentary sitting back in 2022, Mineral Resources and Energy Minister Gwera Mantashe revealed that dodgy diesel was on the rise at filling stations. Why has it taken such a long time to come out with this information?
So, effectively, I think we have been reporting all these where we have found, we've been reporting, so we have not been keeping any information. However, in this instance, we were asked a particular question, and then we had to account for, the whole year, the results as to how they look. But we do deal with these. They get notices immediately as and when they, we find them. And as you may appreciate, they then try and correct whatever they have done wrong. And then by the next time you go for sampling, the diesel is within specification. But we think that is a practice that they normally engage in until they are caught, and then they stop and go back to getting fuel from the oil companies.
So with that in mind, are you saying that there is a chance that some of the well-known filling stations may also be engaging in that practice, or are you confident that the well-known established filling stations are not within this scope?
I am confident, I must say, because they also have been complaining to us, and so have all the fuel retailers that belong to these brands. They've been complaining that there's something going on in terms of the discounts that are being offered by some of the retailers, because that's how you actually begin to see that something is wrong. When a discount of over 1 rand is offered, then you immediately have to, question how that business can survive with such huge discounts. It can only be that it's adulterated, or it's a proceed of a different form of crime in terms of stealing fuel from the Transnet pipeline.
You touched on tax evasion, because all of this points to how filling stations are concealing income. What are the bigger tax evasion implications?
So we believe that this practice is, I think the best authority to respond to this would be really the revenue service. However, we believe that the fiscus is losing in excess of 3 billion rand because of this practice. And that is why we need to collaborate with the revenue service to make sure that it comes to an end, because it's depriving the state of resources.
And in terms of accountability, you spoke a great deal about the many layers that are unfolding behind the scenes. How can customers, or how will customers be able to hold these filling stations accountable? Because mixing fuels is dangerous and can cause major mechanical problems to vehicles in the long term, at least.
Yes, it definitely does cause mechanical problems in the long term, but also, I mean, as you'd appreciate, a lot of people are using generators in their homes, and they buy, a diesel, and over time this can cause problems with those generators. Now, we know, who the culprits that we found are. We know where they are. And I think we will have to find a mechanism together with other state organs that deal with the consumers effectively, to say, how can we then best help the consumers whose equipment, for example, could have been affected. But we are not specialists in that area. Ours is to make sure that whatever is sold meets the specification, and that's why we have a sampling program, which is done by an internationally reputable company called SGS.
So, in the interim, I mean, as you talk about the court matter and accountability, what are some of the big challenges you're currently grappling with as you try and push this matter forward?
Well, I think at the moment it's we think that the legislation needs to be amended. The legislation needs to, our legislation that is, we will have to work to amend to say the onus must be on the offender to prove us wrong. The process as it is currently, the law the way it is such that we have to approach the offender and they must give us reasons why, we should not close them. My own view, and which is what we will present to our principals, is that we need to shut them down on the spot, and they must stop selling that diesel until they can prove that it's within specification. Ideally, that's where we should be at, and that is going to require changes in the law.
Very well. Thank you so much for that update. Tseliso Maqubela was the Deputy Director General at the Department of Mineral Resources there.